Star Wars: The Last Jedi is possibly one of the most divisive films of all time in terms of dividing a fan base. While critics seem to be mostly positive towards the film, Star Wars fans are more divided than ever. Personally, I'm a huge fan, and here's why. The treatment of Luke Skywalker is one of the film's most contentious points, but being a massive Luke fan from way back, I think it was perfect. Luke Skywalker is a legend, not just within the Star Wars universe, but to fans of Star Wars everywhere. The final scene in The Force Awakens saw Rey finally arriving at Acto Island and handing Luke his lightsaber. The last time we saw Luke, he had just defeated the Emperor, redeemed his father's honor, and saved the galaxy. But as we know, the rise of the First Order has essentially replaced the Empire in oppressing the galaxy, and Kylo Ren has risen to power in the dark side.
I will finish what you started.
Luke failed. He achieved nothing, and this has affected him. He's not the same Luke we remember because he's become disillusioned. On top of that, we learn that Luke essentially created Kylo Ren by failing Ben Solo for the briefest of moments, contemplating killing him. Luke no longer believes in the power of the light side. He no longer believes in the Jedi. He's seen them fail too many times.
If you strip away the myth and look at their deeds, the legacy of the Jedi is failure, hypocrisy, hubris.
That's not true.
At the height of their powers, they allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out.
So it makes total sense that when Rey arrives with his lightsaber and a predictable speech about him coming back to save the galaxy, he's not too thrilled.
We need you to bring the Jedi back because Kylo Ren is strong with the dark side of the Force. Without the Jedi, we won't stand a chance against him.
Rey's speech feels rehearsed and hokey, because it is. It's a childish and cliched view of how the world works.
Did you hear a word I just
You
said?
think what? I'm gonna walk out with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order?
Luke's response and the use of the word laser sword rather than lightsaber is interesting. Laser sword sounds silly, but if you think about it, so are lightsabers. They're just so ingrained in our culture that we accept it.
Father's lightsaber.
And what Luke is trying to convey to Rey is that the legends about himself that she has grown up on, that us as an audience grew up on, were all just children's stories and aren't how the real world works at all. But Luke is both right and wrong. It's true he can't walk out with his lightsaber and take down the First Order, at least not in the sense Rey is talking about. But the symbol of Luke brandishing a lightsaber is so powerful that it can reignite hope throughout the galaxy, and that could take down the First Order. It's interesting to note, Luke never once lifts his lightsaber in violence in The Last Jedi, except in this flashback. And as we know, the consequences of that moment of merely contemplating violence are huge. Notice he's using his green lightsaber in this scene, which calls back to his fight with Vader in Return of the Jedi. Another moment where Luke is tempted by the dark side and seems to be struggling to control his emotions. Therefore I think Luke's green lightsaber represents his personal struggle with the dark side. In the fantastic climactic scene between Luke and Kylo Ren, he's using the blue lightsaber. Of course neither he nor the lightsaber are actually there. It's a projection, which means Luke has consciously chosen to represent himself with the blue lightsaber in this moment. This is the image that Luke is choosing to convey as his legend. Luke's pose during the fight is very defensive, contrasting Kylo Ren's aggressive stature. The focus on the character's feet is intentional. Kylo Ren is literally scouring the landscape as he moves. Luke leaves it untouched, showing that Kylo causes destruction and damage wherever he goes, while Luke is choosing pacifism. Again, Luke is choosing to project this image. He knows what he's doing. He's not fighting Kylo Ren, he's sending a message. This is the culmination of Luke's arc over the original trilogy and The Last Jedi, because he has rejected the bureaucracy of the Jedi Order and instead chosen to focus on the message of peace that the Jedi should inspire. The lessons he teaches Rey are very different from the lessons Jedi were taught in the Temple in the prequels. They're not allowed to have families or romance, there's a strict ranking system, and there are so many rules which all cause the creation of Darth Vader. Luke has realized that the answer to these failures is not to completely destroy the Order, but to let it be reborn with Rey.
And I will not be the last Jedi.
Rey hasn't been through the standard training regime of a Jedi. She's had some basic lessons from Luke about the nature of the Force, and the rest she is simply figuring out on her own. So Kylo Ren wants to destroy the past, while Rey holds on to a misguided and romanticized version of it. What Luke has learned is that the way forward lies somewhere in between. Embracing the legends of the past can be inspiring, but we must also learn from the mistakes and not let nostalgia cloud our judgment. And that is what this new trilogy of sequels is bringing to the saga. The prequels were about the fall of the Jedi, the original trilogy was about the Jedi's rebirth in Luke Skywalker, and this new trilogy is about the redistribution of the Force, away from the Skywalkers and embracing the idea that anyone can be born Force sensitive. I think this builds into the message Luke is sending, that anyone can be a hero. No doubt The Last Jedi has divided fans, but regardless of whether you loved or hated it, it's hard to deny that it's a film with something to say. Personally, I can't wait to see what they do with Episode 9, and where they take the series thematically. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan.